I have a scandal for you. A scandal that's been covered up by the big celebrity names. Omar Suleiman, Yasser Birjas, and others all know about this. It's the story of Imam Nick Pelletier, an imam of 14 years who became a whistleblower. He did the right thing and came forward publicly to the community about abuse allegations in Irving Mosque, one of North Texas's biggest mosques. But instead of rewarding him, he was punished. He suffered major social consequences. He was abused by a mob, fired from his position, slandered by the leaders, and had to find other ways to survive, barely surviving for the last 5 years. This scandal needs to be exposed. People need to see how the mosque leadership and the community punished this man and covered up this abuse that was happening right under their nose. Let's get into it.
After exposing the cover-up of child molestation at the Islamic Center of Irving, I was attacked by the local community, by peers, online and private forums. I had prominent figures, who many of you adore, from the DFW celebrity preachers, try to get me to make up and go along with the board. And the most noticeable Muslim blog in the country allowed some sorry excuse of an imam to write a hit piece against me. And the main argument from the community and from this article that was published by MuslimMatters.org was that this was just some cultural misunderstanding. The board agreed to not tell the authorities and to let the culprit flee the country.
Imam Nick is a well-known imam. He studied at the University of Medina. He knows Sajid Lipham, Joe Bradford, Omar Suleiman, Yasser Qadi, Yasser Birjas, etc., etc. What happened is, while he was on vacation, someone called him and said they had to speak to him urgently about abuse. When he came back, he found out that nobody had dealt with it while he was gone, and he immediately got into action. That Friday, he live streamed a khutbah attacking the abusers, speaking about abusing children. He was upset, rightfully so. There were predators in his community, and he was angry. He wanted the congregation to know that this was wrong. So he made this the topic of the Friday khutbah. Now, the crazy thing is, you think this is a good thing that he did, right? But there was actually a hit piece written about him where another imam criticized him for this. He said, "I believe that the outrage Imam Nick felt overcame his sound judgment. And that's why the Prophet said, anger is from shaitan." So apparently being angry, something that's perfectly normal in situations like this, because of the abuse of children, is from Satan? Do they even hear themselves? They were upset. They were upset that he was claiming children were being groped in the mosque. Nick's response was, we need to tell them so that the parents and the kids can be aware of what's happening and they can protect themselves.
Everyone in the community had a right to know so that they could check with their children and make sure that nothing happened to them. It broke my heart to look at my son and say, would he have said something? Would he have spoken up? Because these people rarely get caught on the first attempt. And under your incredibly short-sighted, unintelligent minds, you would have done exactly what the board did and tried to cover it up. You would have allowed the man to escape justice, and other victims never would have been able to seek it. And we know that there were more victims. We just don't know how many.
The mosque people tried to lie about what happened, saying it wasn't inappropriate touching, but it was just a cultural misunderstanding. Yet the parent, actually multiple parents, went to the police. And there were multiple victims, more than one, at least two. There's a bit of racism there. Being a white convert, they thought, they could just say it's a cultural misunderstanding. Yet Imam Nick has been working here for 14 years in the Muslim community that was predominantly from the Indian subcontinent. He also lived 7.5 years in the Arab world. He's also a father, as is apparent from his Instagram, and he knows this was no harmless peck on the cheek. I'm not going to go into the details here, but it was a lot more than that.
The older brother of the victim, whose name is redacted, said that he received a phone call from his younger brother that there was an older man of Pakistani nationality kissing him on the mouth, face, and cheek, and feel. I told him to wait at the mosque while I was on my way to you. I came and actually found traces of kissing on my younger brother's face. There was even a red scar on his cheek from that effect. I'm sorry, am I missing something? Or is this how you greet children in your culture?
Immediately, He was reprimanded for doing this. The khutbah was deleted almost right away from the Masjid YouTube channel. Luckily, someone else downloaded it right away and re-uploaded it. He had gone to the police station with one of the parents. And when he came back, there was a mob of over 24 Muslims that were angry at him. Ultimately, he had to call the police for his own protection.
In the afternoon of the day that I went to the police station with the second victim, after the afternoon prayer, I was confronted by about 24 angry members of the congregation who were upset with my actions. Unfortunately, the confrontation got to the point where I told the security guard that he needed to call the police. Now, I sat in my office, waiting with the security guard until the police arrived and the whole situation was diffused.
And then he was put on admin leave, told not to talk to anyone, and then fired. I believe Nick is genuinely a good man. If you appreciate what Nick went through, and we didn't even tell you how hard those 5 years are yet, leave a comment of support for him and subscribe if you're new here. So, the community, they were upset that he went to the police. The mosque was upset. They wanted to deal with it privately, push it under the rug. What does that mean? They didn't want any police involvement. They didn't want any consequences. The elderly man who inappropriately touched at least 2 kids was quickly sent back to Pakistan, escaping justice. The mosque deleted security footage and other evidence they had implicating him. They also bullied the family members that came forward to the police. The wife of one of the men who had complained to the police about his son's abuse started getting all sorts of problems because she worked at the school that's attached to the Islamic Center. Top leaders in the community, like Yasser Birjas and Omar Suleiman, are involved in this cover-up. Nick has directly mentioned them by name as being complicit in this. I quote, "The imams I met with from the local community were Omar Suleiman and Yasser Birjas. Neither of them did anything to support these children. Neither of them used their platforms to bring attention to this issue. Neither of them supported me in any meaningful way. You can't convince me these guys care about children 7,000 miles away when they don't care about children 8 miles down the road." If you didn't catch the reference he's making, it's to Palestine. He's calling them out for the grifters that they are. Because what kind of people ignore what's happening in their own backyard while claiming to care for others thousands of miles away? Grifters, that's who. What happened to Nick after this? Being an Islamic university graduate who has done nothing but be an imam, what was he to do? After he was fired, nobody wanted to hire him. He wasn't able to gain employment as an imam anywhere. It took him 5 years, a crisis of faith, wondering if God hated him.
And because of this, for years, I felt so enveloped in a darkness that there was no direction to go to get closer to a light that I couldn't see and wasn't sure existed. The darkness felt like a cage that I was trapped inside of, screaming at the top of my lungs for help, falling on deaf ears that didn't exist because the cage was me and my screams never left my own head. I don't think I've ever felt so lost or isolated in my entire life.
The thing that he loved most about Islam was a brotherhood. But what sort of brotherhood was this? He found out. He was shunned for this and basically cancelled and boycotted. He had to go from being an imam to being a door-to-door salesperson.
Now I'm living the American dream like everybody else, scraping by every month just trying to make rent. Throughout these past 5.5 years, there was absolutely no support. The amount of people that even reached out to me or talked to me on a consistent basis I could count on one hand. And the vast majority of them don't respond to my calls anymore. My sense of community was utterly shattered. My religious and spiritual observance went into a complete and utter tailspin. Next to no one reached out to assist me at any point in time or even check in like, "Hey man, how you doing? Where you been? Haven't heard from you in a while." And the ones who did weren't from our community.
That wasn't easy. He had nobody to talk to, barely anyone to help him. What does this show us? The community, the Muslim community, or this particular community in particular, and its leaders were more interested in not looking bad, not making the mosque look bad. They punished Nick for telling the truth. They deleted the khutbah condemning what happened. Why? They protected the criminal. Nick writes, the board squashed the issue and agreed to let the perpetrator flee the country. Not just that, the community members mobbed him. Little did he know at this time, that security guard was also soon going to be arrested for sexual abuse.
This is 24-year-old Saeed Humza Hashmi. He's accused of sexual assault of a child while working in his role as a security guard over at the Islamic Center of Irving.
Why were these Muslims so angry at him? Because of course, he's making the mosque look bad. They seriously care more about how they look than stopping further victimization. So if you expose a PDF file, what happens? You lose your job, you get cut off from the community, you get banned from working anywhere else. But what if you are the PDF file? You'll get a new job. Believe it or not, at the same mosque, there's another incident where another imam, this time, he's not a good imam that's calling out abuse, but this imam by the name of Zia-ul Haq, he was counseling a young Muslim woman from the age of about 13 and started having feelings for her like his prophet did for Aisha. When she turned 18, he proposed to her to be his third wife. She said no, but then he convinced her to have sex with him at a hotel. When she did what he asked and he took her virginity, she asked him, when will we meet again? And he said, never. And that's when she told her parents and he got in big shit. He was forced to pay her $2.5 million in damages and resigned. But guess what? He got another job at the Grand Prairie Islamic Society just down the street. These two Muslim women fought against this, and they are the ones from the group called Face that re-uploaded Imam Nick's video after it got deleted from the Irving Mosque YouTube channel. But even these women are scorned by the mosque. Nick was accused of collaborating with feminists like Face. Apparently, going to the police about sexual misconduct and calling out predators is feminist in their minds. Imagine that's what they think feminism's about. Like, we're talking basic human rights. Even that's too much for them. In conclusion, we see some really alarming issues here. This mosque is one of the largest in North Texas. It has celebrity imams like Yasir Qadhi, Yasir Birjas, and Omar Suleiman speaking there. Yet none of them have said anything about all these scandals. He has repeatedly tagged them in his posts. He has mentioned them by name as being complicit in the cover-up. The Irving Mosque fired the man who legitimately cared about them and tried to bring light to the situation. They kicked him out completely. Yet Imam Zia-ul Haq, who groomed a child for sex, was given another job at the mosque just down the street. Not to mention, so much for Muslim brotherhood. Nick said he never felt more isolated than he ever been in his life over the last 5 years. They protected a criminal and sent him back to Pakistan before he could be prosecuted. They covered this up. You have at this mosque an older man who abused children, a security guard who was arrested, an imam that groomed a minor, and who knows what else they hid from the public. This is alarming, and Muslims and non-Muslims need to know what the mosque and certain community members are hiding from the community. Thanks for watching. Thank you to my patrons for your continued support. If you like my work, please consider joining me on Patreon, as this is the best, most effective way to help me. Your support is most appreciated. You can also check out my website below and donate on PayPal or with a super thanks directly on the video. One more thing. We have a special series coming. The two Abdullahs are going to be tackling sexual predators in the Muslim community. There are a lot more names, big names on the list. Don't miss it. This is your friendly ex-Muslim Abdullah Samir signing out.